I just got done making a couple of videos, bro, a couple of reactions, bro, and I came across this, bro. After I read the title, I'm like, yeah, why is that? Because for those who can't see it, why the title is why so many boxers are undefeated and why it's kind of easy. I need to ask myself too, because the last dude that Tank fought, ain't no way he should have been 14-0. That boy was garbage. Bro, let me see.
There are a lot of undefeated boxers because it's not that hard to be undefeated, relatively speaking. So it seems like a lot of the top boxers are undefeated. And I know we're talking about the top boxers here, but one would imagine that a undefeated record would be very, very rare and something that only the top of the top would have. But in this video, I'm going to show you how common
probably like 30
niggas
are, undefeated
how
for
we
no
should
reason.
be looking at undefeated records with context, and how boxing promotions will actually
what the fuck? Hold on.
Top would have. But in this video, I'm going to show you how common.
Y'all didn't see that, right? How are you 44-0, but ranked number 3? What? That shit tripped out. For real. That means you've been fighting some weak ass niggas all 44 fights.
Undefeated records are, how we should be looking at undefeated records with context, and how boxing promotions will actually manufacture undefeated records to promote their fighters. So to show you how insanely common undefeated records are, I crunched some numbers, and I have to say these statistics really surprised me that I had to calculate them a second time, and I think this will really surprise you. So I took the top 10 boxers in each division from flyweight all the way to heavyweight.
Now let me go back though for people who didn't see that shit. Yeah, what's in there?
How insanely common undefeated record that at 10 ES fighter, you can argue correct top 10 choice and be looking at undefeated records.
Yeah, folks, 44-0. My bad. I had to go back because I know y'all didn't see it. 44-0. Number 3, garbage. Ain't no way.
Me that I had to calculate them a second time, and I think this will really surprise you. So I took the top 10 boxers in each division from flyweight all the way to heavyweight according to ESPN. I just picked ESPN because of an arbitrary choice. It was the cleanest way to get all the records of each fighter. You can argue ESPN doesn't rank boxers correctly, but they had, in my opinion, the correct top 10 people in each division. Whether that was in the correct order or not doesn't matter. I just needed the top 10 boxers in each division. So again, I went from flyweight all the way to the heavyweight division, which is a total of 15 weight classes or 15 divisions. So that is a total of 150 boxers we're looking at. Then I counted up the amount of undefeated boxers within the top 10 of their division, and it came out to exactly 50 boxers, or 33% of all top 10 boxers in each division are undefeated. Now this seems a bit high considering that an undefeated record should be something really impressive. That should be something that I would assume would be in the top 5, maybe 10% of all top boxers, but in this case, 1 in 3 boxers within the top 10 of their division are undefeated. Now, to give a little more context and relativity, I did the same experiment in the UFC. I took the top 10 fighters in each weight division, and I found out that only 5 of these 80 fighters are undefeated, or 6.25% of all fighters within the top 10 of their division.
That because, like, I was watching Undisputed the other day. They was talking about it's not like boxing where this shit, anybody could fuck up and lose, bro. Anybody. Like Usman did, anybody could come up short, bro, in this game of UFC and MMA, bro. Straight up.
Division are undefeated, which is way less, obviously, than 33%. So I did a little more digging with the numbers, and I found out that a lot of the other boxers that aren't currently undefeated only have 1 loss and were previously undefeated for a very long time. So if you've been a fan of boxing, you'll know that a lot of the fighters are built up to be undefeated up until the point where they fight somebody of equal caliber. At this point, both fighters are undefeated, so somebody's O has got to go. So what happens if we add these boxers that were previously undefeated but now only only have one loss. So if we add boxers with only one loss, this number goes up to 85, or 56% of all boxers within the top 10 of their division have one loss or less. So let's take this a step further and add the boxers with two losses, and this number goes up to 119, or 79% of all boxers within the top of their divisions have two losses or less. Finally, if we take this another step further, and we add boxers with three losses, this number goes up to 136, or 90% of top boxers today have three losses or less on their record.
But why is
And
that?
the weird thing is, when calculating these numbers, is that it's more impressive actually to have 4 or more losses on your record and still be within the top 10 of a division.
Right.
So the question is, why is it so easy to be undefeated in boxing?
Come on, man,
So
that's
the
what I wanna
biggest
hear.
reason why it's
Because
so
everybody
easy
fucking
is
garbage,
because of
everybody
the
else.
barrier of entry, or
Barrier
how
of entry.
difficult it is to become a professional boxer and fight for one of the bigger promotions. Now, I'm not trying to discount how hard it is to fight professionally. I know it's super tough, you're gonna get hurt, and you're doing this for a living.
Right.
But relatively speaking to other traditional sports, it's much easier to become a professional boxer and fight for a big promotion than it is to join the NBA, the NFL, the UFC even, etc. So in traditional sports, you usually go through a draft, and those draftees are among the top of the top
Right,
in
they
the
should be
country or
coming
in
up
the
with
world.
drafts. If they come up with a draft, that shit would be nasty. In the draft rooms, in the draft, you know what I mean? In a motherfucking draft, motherfuckers be fighting to get up stage. Nigga, how the fuck you get picked for me? Ooh. That shit
So
be
in
crazy.
boxing, the barrier of entry to become a professional fighter is much, much lower. So there are about 20,000 professional boxers all around the world. And if you compare this to the amount of professional MMA fighters around the world, there are about 1,000 to 5,000, depending on which source you use, of professional MMA fighters. with
MMA
the
is
combination
different,
of the
bro.
UFC, ONE FC, Bellator,
Real
etc.
different.
So you could argue that there are more boxers than MMA fighters because MMA is relatively new in comparison to boxing, but I'm going to argue that it's because of such an easy barrier of entry. So essentially all you need is your boxing pro license, which can be
all you
obtained
need
by
is
simply
license.
applying to your state's athletic commission. From there, you're technically a professional boxer. Now it gets harder to become a professional boxer with a top promotion, but
Right.
technically you can be a professional boxer and fight anybody with a pro license. You contrast this with the MMA, or in specific the UFC, you're essentially contracted to fight other UFC fighters. And since the UFC scouts for fighters and has things such as the Contender Series and the Ultimate Fighter to pick out essentially only the top guys, the people you're going to be fighting in the UFC have passed a certain threshold to be in the UFC. If we go back to boxing, you can essentially fight, again, anybody with a pro license. So this gives young and up-and-coming fighters
bro.
opportunity.
Bro. That means a motherfucker on a wheelchair can get a boxing license. Straight up.
To fight competition levels way below them and to basically handpick their opposition. And unlike the UFC, most promotions in
Handpick
boxing
they
don't
own
obligate
enemies. I
their
don't like
fighters
that
to
shit.
fight within the promotion. And what you'll find in this video is that most promoters, especially
Folks, when I bro, as soon as if I want, that's just me. If I become a professional boxer, bro, I want the top nigga. G. That at least the top motherfucker on my level. You know what I'm saying? I know I ain't. If I get into heavyweight, because I will end up in heavyweight regardless. I want Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury. I mean, they hella taller than me, but I love the challenge. I'm not finna handpick no weak nigga. But at least, to start off, be realistically, who the best in here? Who the best in this motherfucking room right now? That's what I want.
early in a
That's
fighter's
simple.
career
That's simple.
will actually encourage fighters to fight outside the promotion and fighters that aren't necessarily on their level.
Yeah,
And
low
this
key, that last dude that Romero dude that Tank fought, that shit was bogus.
phenomenon still also happens within the promotion as well. A good example of this is Emmanuel Williams versus John Ricone. And you can't tell me that Emmanuel Williams wasn't just signed to Top Rank to basically lose against the top guys and fluff their record. So if you go to BoxRec, which is basically a record keeper of a professional fighter's career, we can see that most of the young stars, the first 5, 6, maybe up to 10 fights have been to opposition that was much worse than them. You can clearly see these fighters taking the opportunity from the low barrier of entry to become a professional boxer to handpick their opponents and get surefire wins.
Damn.
So obviously this is a dream for a promoter. They're able to promote an undefeated fighter with maybe 10, 15, or even 20 wins. Unbeknownst to the general population though, these wins aren't against competition that's all too good. And the thing is, this will continue to happen. There really is no incentive to stop this. Everybody involved in this situation is happy. The promoter continues to promote their fighter as undefeated and can safely give them wins. The fighter obviously is going to get easy wins and build up their confidence, and the person who lost, I would assume, is pretty used to losing, and at least they got a paycheck out of this. And this is also
that is exactly why we are dying and taking forever to see. It might not even fucking happen to see Tank versus Ryan Garcia. Everybody want to see it, but yet they keep dodging each other, fighting all these weak ass motherfuckers that I never heard of. Man, y'all better make some motherfucking money. If they don't know, man, if they fucking get into the ring, bro, so much money be fucking shared.
so easy to continue because of, again, the low barrier of entry. There really is no quality control with these professional boxers, and so long as boxers continue
Other than UFC, you got to be really fucking skilled to get in UFC. Bellator, maybe, but MMA, cage fighting, period, bro. You got to be raw. You got
easily
to be
become professionals. There's gonna be, out of these 20,000 professional boxers, a vast majority of them lacking the same quality of the fighters that these promoters are promoting. So you're probably wondering, what is the problem with undefeated records if eventually these talented fighters are gonna fight each other? Well, if you've learned through past videos of mine, talented fighters don't necessarily fight each other that often.
I literally just said that. He
but
made
since
a
there
video.
is no governing body which forces these fighters to fight, they can continue the cycle of fighting competition that's lower than them and continue to pad their undefeated record with more wins. Now, this becomes a real problem when these fighters have an opportunity to fight somebody equally as talented as them. If this fighter is a real threat to their undefeated record, then they will be very reluctant to take that fight. Up until this point, they've been promoted as an undefeated fighter. They've been conditioned to winning, and they've been conditioned to fighting competition that is very easy for them. As you saw from the numbers in the beginning of this video, it seems like the hallmark of being a top boxer is to have an undefeated record. So as you can see, losing that undefeated record is a legitimate threat to their livelihood, their career, and their image. Additionally, undefeated records kind of lose their prestige if so many fighters are undefeated. If 1 in 3 of the top fighters are undefeated, then who really is the top of the top? It does make it harder to rank fighters, and I think inherently an undefeated record isn't really a good sign of how good a fighter is. You really need to look into the context of who they fought and see if they've been protected by their promoters or not. So what do you guys think?
And then another thing, the only thing I can say is the rankings, bro. They strict with their rankings, bro. For real. I meant to say UFC, they really strict with their rankings, bro. Every fight, they got the rankings right next to their names on the scoring board, on the TV, bro, on the screen. You don't see that with boxing. Ain't no ranking of who's next. You know what I'm saying? Against the who's contending against the champ. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, bro, it's no real competition, bro. Motherfuckers fighting easy motherfuckers. They know they gonna whoop their ass to pad up their record and shit. But yeah. Well, what is till Tank and Ryan Garcia fight? I'm not even watching their weight class no more. Straight up, I'd rather watch KSI. Straight up, or Jake Paul or somebody. Shit. I'm out.